Konnichiwa!
And hey, y'all!
I'm Leslie.
And I'm Lori.
And welcome to Sumo Kaboom, where we talk about all things sumo.
And this week we are talking about the greatest of all times.
The GOAT.
The Yokozuna! Boom! But before we do
you want to do a sumo joke of the day?
Yes, I would love that. Please.
Well, we have a very enthusiastic listener who has been sending jokes to
As in more than one?
As in more than one. In fact, there are 15
Oh my goodness.
for each day of a basho. This joke comes from Malcolm. He gave us a really great review, which is really nice. And he's given us 15 sumo jokes that I'm pretty sure he makes up off the top of his head. And they're pretty good. They sound like he might just be a dad because they're like in the dad joke zone.
Okay.
They're pretty good. Okay. So here's one. Why did the spectators root for a bald sumo wrestler who had taped a puppy to his head as a makeshift wig?
Why?
We all love an underdog. Ba-da-bum. Thank you, Malcolm.
Thank you very much for that. So today, we're talking about the greatest wrestlers of all time. And you know me, I would love to just jump into my favorite wrestler ever, but
don't give it away.
I'm not going to because there's a lot of history and a lot of other people to talk about first. So
Yes.
You take it away.
All right. I said in our very first episode that I began watching sumo in Japan when I lived there in 1998. It was a long time ago. I was lucky enough to come into the sport at the exact same time as when two other Americans were making their way through the sumo world. And I learned as I watched this giant Hawaiian named Akibono, he was a Yokozuna. And the American Samoan Musashi Maru, who at the time was an Ozeki, but he was on his way up, and it was very exciting to watch them. These two Americans had worked their way all the way through the ranks, and I was privileged enough to watch them perform, and soon I became a fangirl of Akibono Musashi Maru. Now, these Americans made the wrestling more appealing to me because they were from the U.S., and the beauty of this Yokozuna's Doyo-iri just had me entranced, even watching Akibono, an American performance. So I didn't really speak Japanese yet, so I begged for one of our Japanese overseers, because they gave us overseers, all these American performers, to take us. I asked him to get me tickets to take us to go see sumo, and I loved it. I just loved it. And I showed you my program. I ended up going to the May Basho, and it showed that Akibono fought Tosanoomi and Takana Hana versus Kota no Waka was that day. So,
You guys, it was so funny. She ran in the room the other day and she was like, look at what I found. And it was this green, it looked like a big program from something. It had these sumo wrestlers on the front and this whole list of names who had fought that day that you were there in person.
and their rankings.
It was very, very cool.
I'm surprised I kept it. I don't know why. I'm just one to not hold on to things.
Oh, really?
I was looking through all of my stuff to kind of find some of my souvenirs because I know I bought a bunch of Japanese sumo trinkets and things, and I couldn't find them. So I must have gotten rid of that, but I was so glad that I kept hold of this. Well, anyway, now all these years later, I still love it, and the mystique of the Yokozuna still fascinates me. And it's hard to say who is the greatest of all time because, honestly, they're all great in their own way. And Yusho wins doesn't necessarily equal greatness. As Yokozuna Asashoryu's fall from grace and match fixing and bar brawls, you can have the title and the Yusho wins, but are you truly the greatest of all time? Sorry, Asashoryu. I do love him.
Are you going to talk about Asashoryu as the greatest of all time?
No, actually, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
I'm actually not.
You're skipping over him.
I'm skipping over him.
All right.
Although I did watch... I went down the rabbit hole of watching all of his bouts, specifically with Hakuho.
I know, it's fabulous.
And that
so good.
blew my mind because the rivalry between those two.
I know, we're going to talk more about it.
Anyway, he was fascinating to watch. And I could also begin with Yokozuna from ages ago, such as the supposed first Yokozuna, Akashi Shigenosuke, who in year 1624 was 8 feet 6 inches and weighed over 406 pounds. He was legend.
That's a big man.
And I could also talk about the wrestlers prior to the war, but I'd like to focus on the real wrestlers of modern sumo history who are the greats themselves, and you can actually see the footage now to prove it.
Okay.
Taiho Koki was born Kokinaya in 1940 and became the youngest to achieve Yokozuna's status in 1961 at the tender young age of 21.
Oh, you're talking about Taiho.
Yeah.
Okay.
He won a record of 32 tournaments in his career, and that was a feat at the time no one had ever accomplished before, and no one could break his record of winning at that.
No.
Yeah, until later.
Cliffhanger.
He had 2 streaks of 6 tournament wins in a row, a whole year of domination, and he did that twice. And he was born to a Ukrainian father and a Japanese mother on this tiny island of, I hope I say this right, Sakhalin, Sakhalin, which is this tiny island. I don't know how tiny it is. It's just an island off the Russian Pacific coast and North Japan of their mainland.
Oh.
And at about 5 years old, Russia decided to invade and seize that land as their own, and that's when he moved to Hokkaido. And Hokkaido has had a lot of famous wrestlers come from.
Sorry, where's Hokkaido?
Up north.
It's in Japan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You are talking to someone who has never been to Japan, and so I don't really have the geography in my brain of where all these places are.
Yeah, I believe Hokkaido is just north. Isn't it like a northern island because you have to fly to it? It's where you get all the yummy chocolates from.
So Taiho was born on a little island between Japan and Russia. And when Taiho was 5 years old, it was invaded by Russia, and he moved to Japan. Am I getting that right?
You got it.
Okay.
Yep, and they moved to Hokkaido in 1965. He joined the Nishonoseki stable and began training. And he was about 6 feet and 337 in pounds when he finally worked his way up the ranks. And he was incredible to watch. He was lightning fast. And he, by the way, changed his name, his Shikona, his ring name, he used to, when he was in the lower ranks, I think wrestle as Naya, but then he changed it to Taiho, which means Great Phoenix. Okay? Okay? You making note of that?
Oh, yeah.
From 1959, he crushed it in Juryo. And then he went through the upper ranks and in 1960 became an Ozeki. And then after 2 more tournament wins was promoted to Yokozuna. So from beginning sumo, just 6 years earlier, and at 2 years in the upper top division wrestling, he became a Yokozuna. He became a legend in 6 years. That means from 15... Yeah. Okay, I know you can do the math, but it's kind of amazing.
He's not the only one.
Well, are you fighting me on this?
No,
because,
not at all.
I'm clearly not fighting you on Hakuho's greatness.
No.
I'm just saying Taiho was great too.
Okay.
At a young age, he managed to break every record in the book. Most consecutive wins, 32 from 1961 to 71. He was the first Yokozuna to win 6 tournaments consecutively. 8 of his championships were won with perfect records of 15 wins and won 45 bouts in a row. What was really interesting is that he had this run of all of these consecutive wins, and it was upon maybe the 45th win that there was something that was it was a judge's wrong call. I think it went against him, so it ended his streak. But after that bout, they introduced instant replay.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it was such an uproar. Like people were like, no,
yeah, it
no,
cannot be.
This is a 45, bout winning streak.
Yeah,
and so it was a big deal. Now he preferred a belt grip with a right hand outside and left hand inside, and yorikiri frontal push out with his brute strength. And it was next to impossible to fend off. And he had a diligence in his training that really is what set him apart. When I watched a lot of his bouts compared with who I'm going to talk to next and who you're going to talk about, his body looked similar to Hakuho's in the way it's built.
Yeah.
Which just made me think, I don't know. That's just interesting.
Yeah. And
he was slower, not slow. They're all fast, but because he was a bigger guy, he had just like long arms and could just reach around people, and he was patient. He was so patient. He could take any amount of slapping and pushing from anyone else, and he would just wiggle his way into his favorite grip, and then he would just wait it out, and he would move with this force, this real power that's different than other wrestlers. It was just a force of energy, and no one could really beat him at the time. It's really remarkable to see. And on YouTube, you can go and watch Taiho's, whatever the streak was of wins at the time. Maybe it was 32 in a row. I can't remember. But you can watch it back to back. It's only like 16 minutes, but it's really fascinating to watch them back to back to back to back to see how he moves and just to see, oh, yep, here he is trying again to get hit. Yep, there he gets the grip. Oh, there he gets the grip. Oh, it didn't work that time, so we did a throw, but there he gets the grip.
Yeah.
And it made me think about when I watch, sumo, I see them all different wrestlers back to back. So I don't necessarily make a mental note of this guy's grip is this, unless the commentators say it.
Yeah.
But I really want to go back and watch stuff now and be like, oh, this is what Kakeru really prefers. I'm going to watch for this grip and see if he gets it. Taiho retired and became a stable master. Now, he suffered a debilitating stroke at the young age of 36.
Oh, you're kidding me.
No.
36?
And he worked really hard to regain movement on his left-hand side. And he really wanted to train younger wrestlers. But as he aged and this stroke having an effect on his body, it was hard for him to train younger wrestlers. But he did have some that he trained that became an ozeki, but maybe not the legendary of coaches that he wanted to be. He still maintained enough movement so that when he got to his kanreki doyoiri at age 60, where they... Yeah. He was able to do some stuff, but he was in a wheelchair for the latter part of his life and died of heart failure at 72. But he was the curator of the Sumo Museum at the Kokugikan for his latter years.
Wow.
Yeah. Taiho is known as the strongest Yokozuna in history, and many people recall his greatness today. One other thing that was noticeable watching these bouts back to back, he would always help the wrestler up. Always.
Yeah.
I mean, jump off the doyo to help them back up.
Yeah.
It was really interesting to see. He was the epitome of Yokozuna and grace, and he was a legend. Now, in another 10 years, another legendary Yokozuna would come along, nipping at Taiho's heels record-wise. And there were other Yokozuna in that time, but another one would come along who had something just as special as Taiho.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he was small in stature. He almost looked dwarfed by the bigger wrestlers but his fighting style was dynamic, and he was lightning fast and really tricky. And modern wrestlers, kind of like Inho, probably look to him as a model of how to win when you are on the smaller side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And he used that to his advantage, and he always won. And he was quite a looker. Okay, he's very handsome in my book.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me his name.
I won't. Not yet.
Oh.
He was nicknamed the Wolf due to his ferocious fighting style and chiseled looks.
Oh, now this is starting to feel like Twilight.
And beautiful physique.
Oh, this is totally Twilight, the movie.
Chiyonofuji.
Oh, Chiyonofuji.
Oh, he's gorgeous.
See, I don't know much about him at all.
Oh,
so now that he is the wolf.
Handsome.
Okay.
He was born Mitsugu Akimoto in 1955 in Fukushima, which is northern Japan.
Okay.
And he was to become the 58th Yokozuna and considered one of the greats or greatest of all times.
Okay, I'm listening. I'm totally looking up a picture of him at the same time.
Okay,
so I can know who you're
please do.
about.
You know that picture of the buns that we posted?
Yes. Oh, is that him?
I have a feeling because he was so muscular out of all the Yokozuna, it was it had to have been him. It had to have been him.
Okay.
He was a slight wrestler, weighing in at 260 to around 280, and he was only 6 foot tall, but he was all muscle. He wrestled for 21 years and went on to become the stable master of the Kokonoe stable. And this was the very stable he joined at age 15, after he was scouted by another former Yokozuna from Fukushima. His name was Chiyonoyama, and encouraged him to move to Tokyo to train.
Sorry, I just found the picture of him. Yes. Okay, I've seen him before.
His eyes, he has these beautiful eyes, and his eyebrows, he's
and
chiseled.
He was so muscular.
Yes.
His upper body was ripped.
His body looks different, and it's a gorgeous body.
Yeah. Well, it
ain't
really
bad to look at.
Truly is. But he's also featured in some documentaries, some more recent documentaries, like him in a suit after he retired.
Yeah.
And I always wondered, who is this guy that they always keep going back to? Well, now I know he's one of the greatest of all times. And there's a reason why he would be why they would be talking to him in a documentary.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Wow. That is some terrific eye candy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
For our lady listeners.
Oh my God.
Or our gentlemen listeners.
Please look this boy up. He is beautiful.
People know who he is. He's gorgeous. Well, his entry into
Except for me. I'm the only idiot that didn't know who he was.
Oh, well, now you know.
Now I know.
His entry into the ranks was an up and down affair, so he didn't have the same straight to the top Taiho thing going on. He was in and out of Juryo. He was plagued by a shoulder injury early on, but he got a bit healthier and was encouraged to quit smoking, which actually made him put on more weight. Yeah, and that led him to a successful streak, and that helped him get the momentum to move up into the upper ranks.
So see, kids, don't smoke.
That's right. You can put on weight.
That's right. Put on weight instead, and you'll go to the top.
That's right. Well, he chipped away at it, and he focused on his throwing techniques and graced his way through komusubi, sekiwaki, ozeki ranks, kicking ass, and winning prizes all along the way. He beat Yokozuna Kitanuumi to win the tournament, I can't remember which one, and was shortly announced Yokozuna promotion afterwards. And that was in July 1981. So while we were growing up.
Wow.
At the time, he broke all sorts of records again, including most victories and top wins from the Makauchi division. And those records will be broken eventually by another wrestler. But he also held the record until Hakuho broke it for the most consecutive wins in a row, 53. His overarm throw, the uwatanage, was his signature move. And if he got his left hand outside and right hand inside grip, you were toast. Wrestlers referred to it actually as the death grip.
The death grip?
Yeah, because when he had it, you were gone. And he was quick, he was explosive, and he was skilled. And he could also, like Hakuho, he could throw any technique. He had 41 winning techniques in his career. So watching him, he was almost too fast for anyone to kind of catch up to. And he had like a fierce wiggle in his hips, and he was constantly shifting out of his opponent's grip.
Yeah.
Like they couldn't keep up with how fast he was moving around their moves that they would throw at him. And he also had these powerful thrusts, though, that were just as big as some of the biggest men that were dominating at the time. He could throw those big thrusts as well. And he dominated with this brilliant fighting style all through the 80s, ending in 1991. And he was the first sumo wrestler to be given the People's Honor Award by the Japanese Prime Minister. I don't even know what that award is, but it sounds fabulous.
Maybe he got the key to the city or something.
Yes, maybe perhaps. And then you can also watch older videos, and you can see him on the sideline because he became a sideline judge in his retirement. He eventually took over ownership of the stable that he came up in, which had a long, successful line of wrestlers hailing from it, all having Chiyo in their names, including current rank and filers Chiyo Tairu and Chiyo Maru. All the Chiyos come from him. And upon his 60th birthday, he had his Kanreki Doyu Iri, which is when, the Yokozuna performs his Doyu Iri again. Well, he died actually shortly thereafter in 2016 of pancreatic cancer, but he was a legend. So remember, for us, like while Mike Ditka and the Chicago Bears were making their stupid Super Bowl shuffle videos and Burt Reynolds was making Cannonball Run movies across the ocean, this legend, Chiyonofuji, was dominating the ancient sport of sumo.
And I'm sorry, but Burt Reynolds was the only thing I was paying attention to back
me
then
too.
at 11 years of old age. 11 years of old age.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So those are my legends I wanted to talk about.
Okay, fabulous. Well, I'm going to add one more legend to it, and I'm sure it is no surprise that it is my dreamboat, my Hakuho, the man, the legend, the greatest of all time. And I know I'm not alone in believing that he is the greatest of all time.
No, you're not, because he truly, in my opinion as well, he is great.
He is. I cannot tell you his real name because I tried and tried to find someone to pronounce this name for me. Phonetically, and I couldn't find it anywhere. And it has a lot of double A's in it, and I am just so clueless, and I am just going to bastardize it if I try to say it aloud. So I'm not going to, but he was not born Hakuho. He was born in the capital city of Mongolia to a father who had won a silver medal in the Olympics for wrestling. So he came from wrestling pedigree. In his autobiography, did you know he had written 2 autobiographies?
No.
I didn't know this either. He's got 2 books out there, people. Neither one of them you can get in English. I could only find, there's a guy who made some videos and transcribed like portions of the first 2 chapters, and that's all that I can find. So please, sumo gods, please have someone give us an English version of one or both of these autobiographies, because I'm dying to read them. But in his autobiography, he says that he developed core power by riding horses and carrying heavy objects as a kid. His dad, interestingly, wanted him to play basketball.
Because he's so tall?
Well, because he was just a skinny kid, and I don't know, his dad liked basketball for some reason. But Hakuho kept reading and finding sumo magazines, and that's all he would read. And so his father just finally gave in. But he was not a big kid. He was a very skinny, little bitty kid. Legend has it that he went to Japan at age 15 because he wanted to study sumo. This is in the year 2000.
Wow.
I know. And he was a skinny kid who only weighed 136 pounds. And you see the videos of when he first arrived in the sumo world, and he does look tiny. It just shows you, oh my God, that's an average person's weight, and it looks so frail in comparison.
Yeah, when
to the
I
size
watch
of
the
a sumo
videos
wrestler.
of the young kids, I'm always like, oh, look at that skinny kid. That kid's never going to make it. They're too skinny. But
know.
those are the kids that do.
I know. So when he arrived looking for a stable to train in, he was not accepted. He was turned away over and over and over again because the stable master said, nope, you're too little, not going to take you. The information I looked at basically said that he only got accepted to a stable because another Mongolian wrestler basically sent in a really fabulous letter of reference.
Just like sorority girls do.
That's right.
They get a rec letter.
Yeah, and so that's how he got in. Anyway, he wrote in his autobiography about the torturous training that he went through in the beginning. He was cooking, he was cleaning, he was doing all that stuff. In only 3 months, he made his professional debut, looking very, very tiny still in 2001.
Whoa, how does that happen?
I know. So he was very, very good from the beginning.
What was the stable he went into?
I didn't write it down.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I don't
No
know.
worries.
And in 3 years, thanks to some really great training and a really big growth spurt, he reached the top division and defeated Asashoryu in only 3 years from beginning. He was promoted to an Ozeki, basically just took off like a rocket. And as an Ozeki, he won back-to-back championships, which won him the Yokozuna title in 2007 at 22 years old. 3 years after entering the top division, he became a Yokozuna. He basically exceeded everybody's expectations.
Except for Taiho, who
Well,
did it in 2 years.
Well, that's true. And I'm
But
glad
they're so similar, though. When you watch them, they are
Yes.
so similar.
And I'm really glad you bring up Taiho because Taiho is Hakuho's idol.
Yes.
He knew a lot about Taiho and molded himself to be like Taiho. As a matter of fact, in his autobiography, he basically said, I have all of the, whenever he wrote this book, I have the skills that Taiho had except for his spirit.
That may be that extra grace that I was talking about, where Taiho would extend a hand in every single match. And I think you see Hakuho try, but it doesn't always go. Some of the wrestlers are like, I don't need your hand.
Well,
But he does try a lot of the time.
he does. Basically, by the late 2000s, he was just unstoppable. He was so fast, so varied. He dominated with wins from that time. Taiho became a Yokozuna in 1961. He won 32 championships, and that record held until Hakuho beat that record with more than 33 and still winning. I think now he's on his 44th. How do you encapsulate just how good someone is? I mean, you can talk about all the records that they have won, which I have a list here. I keep going back to the fact that he completely dominated the sport between 2007 and 2017. He's still winning now. Mm-hmm. I used to get so frustrated hearing the commentators say stuff about Hakuho like, oh, he's waning. But only after going back and looking at his record can I really see what they're talking about. I mean, he still is a fabulous, fabulous wrestler.
Right.
And he wins the vast majority of the time. But when you look at how he was winning between 2007 and 2017, it almost looked effortless.
Well, and that goes also to my point I was making earlier about watching all those Asashoryu Hakuho matches back to back.
Yeah.
In the very beginning, Asashoryu just kept kicking his ass.
Yeah, he kept winning.
Over and over and over. And then slowly the tide turned.
Yes.
And he began to crush it. And that, I think, is the Hakuho that people kind of think about. Oh, he's getting old. He's not the Hakuho he used to be. And yes, maybe he did have youth and maybe he did have more weight on him, but his mind and the ability to pull out any technique in any situation because he's lived this long and fought this long is far superior than when he was fighting back then, in my opinion.
I have so much I want to say, and it's like it all wants to come out at once. So it's like I don't really know where to go here. It's like should I talk about Asashoryu? Or should I talk about why he's so good, why people think he's so good? I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Hakuho is really known for using so many different kinds of kimarite. Okay, he says in the beginning he was like a push-out guy. He relied on his ability to push people out. But if you look at his stats, he only uses that about 28% of the time. He has so many weapons. He has incredible strength at pushing and at grappling. His proprioception is unlike anybody.
That's a big word. I don't know.
You don't know? Oh, okay. Proprioception is your ability to know where your body is in space. Let's say a diver jumps off a board. You have to know exactly where your little toe is in space. You have to know exactly where your head is in order to enter the water at the specific point you want to enter it, right? So a wrestler has to know exactly where he is in space to be able to match his opponent. He has to know exactly where his foot is in the ring, exactly how much strength he has in each shoulder, right? Hakuho is so good at that. In the beginning, when he was winning his bouts, and he still does this occasionally now, like a wrestler will run up to him, and it's almost like he just steps out of their way, or he just meets them once with a push, and the wrestler is out, and you kind of go, what just happened there? Like, that happened so fast. That person lost so fast. What happened? And it's because Hakuho's proprioception is so good. His proprioception and his ability to read his opponent is so good. It's like he knows exactly where his opponent's going to be before they get there. His feel for like levers and counterbalance and counterweight is so dead on that all someone has to do is like lean a centimeter too far and he knows how to take them down. That seems to be his skill. He has that incredible hip wiggle that you were talking about.
Incredible.
Yeah. And he's known for being, and really loved and admired for being calm, for being silent, for being the opposite of Asashoryu. And now, for people that don't really know Yokozuna Asashoryu, he was a real hot-tempered guy.
Yeah, he was Mongolian.
Yeah,
and
another wrestler.
Ooh, he was good.
He was a Yokozuna right as Hakuho was coming up. He got involved in these just all sorts of scandals.
Yeah,
like saying
gambling. You're not allowed to gamble.
Yeah.
He also would showboat after bouts. He would like raise up his arms and like celebrate or high five people on the way out. And as a Yokozuna, you're not allowed to do that.
Right. Asashoryu also beat people up.
Yeah.
Right. If he didn't really like how they wrestled, he would go out to their car, beat the heck out of their car.
Oh, I didn't know that. He was hot-blooded. He was.
Yeah. He also said he was injured at one point and then showed up at a charity football match in Mongolia.
Yeah.
So it's like he didn't quite have the character that the Japanese Sumo Association wanted their
He could bring it in the ring.
Yeah, and he was fierce in the ring. Anyway, as all this was happening to Asashoryu, Hakuho was coming up, and he was learning how to wrestle this fierce opponent in the ring. As you said before, losing most of the time in the beginning, but building his strength. And then once Asashoryu kind of had to resign because of all that, then it was like the path was wide open for Hakuho to just dominate for years and years at the top. Hakuho has had his share of scandals too, but when you look at them comparatively to Asashoryu, they aren't even, they're not even close. I mean, people have said, okay, yeah, Hakuho can be a little hot-headed. He can be celebratory in the ring, and they don't really love that. There was one time when he got the crowd to clap with him in a clapping ceremony, and it was before the sumo tournament was completely done, and he got in trouble for that. Like, you can't make the crowd cheer and clap at the same time.
But those aren't major offenses.
No.
Yes.
And so Hakuho isn't 100% perfect. There was another time he added a little extra push out of an opponent after a fight was done, and the wrestler landed on a judge and actually fractured the judge's femur.
Oh, no.
So he got some talking down to, for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are things that pop up when you look at his history, but overall, he's not only been a fabulous wrestler, but he has such durability. He's been a Yokozuna for so long. Not only is his skill consistent, and he can deal with any sort of wrestler that wrestles with any sort of style, he's my God, he was not injured for 8 years straight.
Whoa.
He is durable. Like, if he gets injured, he either comes back really fast or his training regimen is so good.
Well, they
he can
say
get
that
over
his
it.
training regimen is he does not practice a lot. He heals most of the time, and then he ramps up his practicing more towards the tournament.
Whatever he does, it's a good training regimen because it's made him durable. And that is really part of what makes him the greatest of all time. I'm looking at all of the stuff that he has done. Most top division championships at 44, most career wins at 1,142. Hakuho is the longest serving Yokozuna of all time. 12 years, 5 months as of the end of the March 2020 tournament.
Wow.
12 years and 5 months. It's such a long time. He has the most wins as a Yokozuna, 858. The most consecutive wins in the 6 tournaments per year, 63. The most wins in a calendar year. He's won 86. They fight 90 times in tournaments every year. He's won 86 of them.
Wow.
Twice. Not once, but twice. 2 different years where he did that. 15 times he's gone through a tournament and not lost. I mean, it's just overwhelming to look at somebody's record like that.
Yeah, because record-wise, he kind of blows everyone out of the water.
Yeah, he really does. Oh my gosh. I watched this documentary talking about why he thinks he's made it this far. Mm-hmm. And he talked a lot about the fact that he learned Japanese so early. He talked about the early role of Asashoryu. He talked about the pressure of being a Yokozuna and how it's just unending. Like, he talked about how difficult it was once he surpassed Taiho's record of 33 wins. Like, he had to have something to reach for in the future, or else there was no reason to wrestle.
Right.
Anymore.
It's incredible pressure.
Incredible.
I think he also took a lot of that pressure and put it towards doing good things.
Like the Hakuho Cup.
Like the Hakuho Cup.
The Hakuho Cup is an annual amateur sumo event for elementary to middle school age children from both inside and outside Japan, held annually. Very cool thing for him to do.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And he's so proud of it. And that's what's joyful about watching it.
Yeah.
Is he seems to maybe now be more comfortable in being a Yokozuna, but maybe in the beginning it was just hard. I mean, it's
he talked
uncharted
a lot,
territory.
He said it induced panic in him. So although it looked like he was calm and silent from the outside, on the inside, he was feeling all sorts of panic and pressure, and still does. And that's probably why he's so good, because he's got an ability to deal with that panic and pressure and keep performing under that kind of weight
And stress. No
I
wonder
know.
they all die 10 years younger than everybody else, is that they talk about the brutality and the fighting and the body and the injury, but more than anything, if you are in the upper ranks, the stress of knowing you have to go into that ring and perform, or if you don't perform consecutively well enough, then you're going to have to retire. So it's either you must excel to this great, great level or quit.
And you can't celebrate when you win, and you can't get angry
Right.
if somebody, calls an incorrect call, and you can't get the crowd cheering. And if you're a Yokozuna, you cannot ever lose. If you're a Yokozuna and you haven't won, you better start winning. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just, the pressure is endless. Mm-hmm. I really never understood it until I started to read more of his words. And on that note, I found this. Okay, you guys, I started to watch this documentary, and because it had Hakuho speaking in his own words about
because you don't
training.
normally get to hear him unless it's like a speech after a win. And
yeah, but this documentary on YouTube had closed caption, and I was like, oh, great, I'll be able to read in English what he's writing. And you guys, this was the captioning below It's got a picture of him speaking to the camera, and there's music going, and he says, according to these captions, the plants, normal train and smooth intel, man, mystical, wanting, of course, that is by two, unisys, nice, medical. They are out of air. Be good. Stir, real, ahoy. Stir my Twitter.
What?
I know, it just goes on and on.
That
It's
translator needs to be fired.
I know, it's the worst translation I've ever seen. And he just goes on. She is about things after research.
What
kind
is he
of
talking
bonus
about?
Material. I have no idea.
Plants? He's an herbologist? Herbist? What's it?
Language is really an issue with us people. Like, we want to understand. We really do. But closed captioning like that really does
That
not
does
help.
not help. It sounds like Hakuho's nuts.
Be good. Stir. Real. Ahoy. Stir my Twitter.
Ahoy! Ahoy, my Twitter. Stir, plants, stir.
I'm sure it was really deep, whatever he was saying. But
Yeah, but
someone got paid for not doing the right job.
Either that or Hakuho's high as a kite. That's funny.
Yeah, we were talking about pressure. Maybe this is what the pressure does to you. Just you
Turns
start
your brain
speaking.
to hamburger?
Ah, stir my Twitter. Oh my goodness. So if you think someone else out there deserves the title of greatest of all time in the sumo world, please let us know. We'd love to learn more about other wrestlers out there, and we'll keep updating these. I'm sure we'll have other greats that'll come in the future that we'll have to do more
That's right.
podcasts about.
That's right. Who will be the wrestler that breaks his records? Shall we move on to our Q&A section?
Yes.
All right. All right. We have a lovely question here from Brandy Alexis Dumore, and she is in Los Angeles, and she asks, who makes the mawashi? And I thought,
that's a
this
great
is
question.
a simple question. And I was like, I don't know. But I did find out that the official company that is the supplier for the JSA is called Sanpuku, Sanpuku. And for more than 80 years, they have provided the JSA with mawashi.
80 years.
80 years. And even though the belts are actually made of a very stiff and very thick and sturdy canvas, they range from $80 to $150 for the pros. And in this research, this is really why I wanted to answer this question. I found out maybe the most disturbing fact in all my research I've come up against
About mawashi?
about mawashi.
Disturbing fact?
Yeah.
Is it that they itch?
No.
Is it that other people have to help them into it?
No.
Because that's not that disturbing.
Nope. They never ever wash the mawashi.
Never?
Never.
No, that can't be.
It is
No, that
true.
cannot be.
I have no idea why, but it is said that you can see the mawashi hanging out in the sun nearby the stables after.
Oh, so they disinfect them in the sun.
Through the sun.
Okay.
And the sun's rays, I guess, disinfect. But overall, they stink to high heaven. This is the truth.
How can they not clean them, though? I mean, you can't get any more private in your private parts.
Don't ask me. Ask Sumo. This is what I do not get.
Well, maybe that makes them easier to identify with each particular wrestler.
Yeah, I found that some kid, some like college kid, tried to sell his belt on the internet.
Oh, God.
And he was like, it's full on stinky, people. He on eBay, I think got $370 for his
Stinky?
used mawashi. He said, I have used it for 3 years straight, and it's been washed once a year, but that was every September, once. And he didn't do it all 3 years. So he's like, he's got the first one, and then after a year wrestling, the second one, and then he didn't wash it again.
Maybe this is why they get so excited, the wrestlers, when they talk about getting a new mawashi. I thought they were excited about the different color choices, but probably they're like, oh,
This
thank
one
God this
doesn't
one
smell like
smells
ass.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
You might not be able to sleep tonight.
Maybe this is also why we don't see colors like yellow very often. You'll occasionally see a light blue, but they're mostly black.
Well, the
Darker
practice
colors.
ones are the white ones, and you can see them stacked up on the wall. I was like, as long as they don't share them.
Well, still, they need help getting in and out of them. So
I mean, somebody else has to touch your used
Yeah.
mawashi. Oh, God. Anyway,
Do you think they keep them? Like, does Hakuho have a closet somewhere?
I would hope that Hakuho,
old...
of all people, would be able to get a new mawashi whenever he wants it. But they have to be broken in. That's the thing. You can't just go out and get a new one. It's like getting a new reed for your saxophone or your clarinet. Like, you have to work it out.
You have to work like a good pair of hiking boots.
Yes. So anyway, that's a tidbit of information that you didn't know before that now you know.
Well, I imagine all the sweat and the dirt and things would help to break that in pretty quickly. My brain is it's on stop right now because it cannot get past that little factoid.
Yep, sorry. Okay, our next question comes from Kirk. He's also in Los Angeles, Kirk D'Amato. He asks, have I ever eaten Chanko Nabe? And I have not. Or if I did, I didn't eat at a restaurant in Japan when I was there that was specifically for Chanko Nabe. But I did eat a lot of soups and stews that had vegetables and proteins in them. And my favorite thing in the whole wide world is shabu shabu, which I ate a ton of, which is hot pot. It's like a hot pot. Like you throw all the vegetables and then you throw in you dip in the really thin pieces of meat and then you put that with rice and the cooked vegetables in a broth. And oh, it's so good.
I learned this week that wrestlers from Mongolia don't eat a lot of vegetables. They really only eat meat because that's the Mongolian diet. Oh. So when they go to sumo school and they start training, they have to train them to eat the vegetables because the kids are like, ew, no vegetables. And the way they do that is by giving them more meat as a prize. Like, if you eat your vegetables, you'll get more meat. And I thought, oh, man, there's something dear to my heart. Like, that's very much like Texas.
It is. Maybe we're very similar.
Yeah.
We are all similar. We all have something in common with people on the other side of the world. So anyway...
That is our style of sumo this week.
Sumo kaboom.
Sumo kaboom.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Make sure and share and review and listen and comments, ask questions. We love to answer your questions. And if we can't answer them, when we try to find somebody who can. Or we try to find maybe a loosely translated,
terribly translated documentary to watch, and we'll share all about.
To have like a half-ass answer for you.
So until later, I am Laurie.
And I'm Leslie. Sayonara.
See you later. Bye y'all.